Due diligence for a buyer is really important. It gives the buyer a final opportunity to confirm everything that's been told to them by the seller. And that can be in the form of financial statements, it can be in the form of bank statements, it can be in the form of suppliers, vendors, employees, what assets have been bought or sold since they first started talking, and so on and so forth. The buyer also needs to take, this is step number 4 in the Maverick software, the opportunity to devise a list before they even start and make sure that they run that list by any legal counsel to make sure they're getting all of the information from the seller that they need in order to, 1, complete the due diligence process, confirming what the seller said, and whatever the lawyer or the representative attorney needs in order to complete the final legal documentation. So that's why due diligence for the buyer is so important. The Maverick software, the technology that we've built, always had in mind how we can help a buyer and how we can help a seller get through due diligence as smoothly as possible. So the platform for the buyer is identical to what the platform for the seller is. So they are interchangeable. The seller and the buyer can be talking about the same thing at the same time. So when due diligence, step number 4 starts, the seller is going to request from the buyer a due diligence list. That buyer then needs to create that list. These are the final things I need to see. So let's pause for a second there and go back to step number 1. Step number 1 is preparing your business for sale. So you're putting financial statements, you're putting employee information, and you're putting vendor, supplier, you're putting a lot of information, real estate information in that first step. Some of that information is going to be moved over to step number 4, no question. But some of it's old. It could have been 3 months between step 1 and step 4. So some of that is already there, but it just needs to be updated. So the seller has a role in due diligence as well, providing the buyer whatever the buyer requests within reason in order for them to make a final decision to go to legal docs. And the buyer has an obligation to the seller to make sure that the buyer is asking for all of the important information that they need in order to sign off on a final deal, as well as provide the attorney what they need in order to create the documentation.